This video is about waste ink tanks on inkjet printers. This particular model is an HP Photosmart D5063, so we'll deal with that first before we do the general discussion. So if you're looking at this video because you've got one of these, then this will help clean up your prints. So we'll open the various doors on it and we'll lift it up. And because it's turned off, the print heads are sort of hidden away out of shot over there. This is the bit we're interested in here. If I get a torch and I shine it in there, can you see that big lump? That is actually congealed ink, and that has got two compartments with what look like little sponges in, and they're basically felt pads. That's what inkjet manufacturers call the waste ink tank. It's not a tank at all, it's basically a sticky pad. So after it's finished printing, the print head whizzes along and it dunks itself, just dips itself onto there, just clean the ends off, and it carries on printing. Over the time, that obviously builds up and you get quite a saturated felt pad, and in some cases you actually get a little pool of ink. That's why a lot of inkjet printers have a mechanism to count the pages, so that when it reaches a certain limit, which varies between the printer will actually stop working and will refuse to print, because it will assume, usually wrongly, that the waste ink tank is full and that there's likely to be a spill. This tends to occur on portable printers because obviously they're going to be moving around, so you don't want them spilling ink everywhere. But I think most inkjet printers do have this counter. Practically, you've normally replaced it before you've got to this limit, so you may not be aware of that. Anyway, with this particular printer, there is a small screw, and it's a torque screw, so it's like a sort of a star with quite a few points on it. So we unscrew that, and this little pad here, this little cover, we give it a wiggle and it just sort of comes off. It's got a clip there and a clip there, so it comes off. I'm already getting myself covered in ink. There's a bit of ink on there. It's quite a messy printer, this one, which is why we're doing this. If I go and get the torch, you've now got a much clearer view of what's in there. Essentially, it looks like little black pads. They're not black, they're actually white, but they're black because of all the ink that's been squirted on them. So this is where it gets really messy. Let's take them out. I've just got a little plate here that I'm going to put down. You can see it in the shot, and we'll get a pair of tweezers, and you can see that there's a lot of ink on there. And if I peel this up, you can just see. I'm not going to use my fingers because it's going to get ink absolutely everywhere. But there's the pad. So you can see the pad. It's not completely full, but it's got a very conspicuous lump of congealed ink on it. So I'm going to put that one on the plate. And then what I'll do is I'll take the other one out, and then we'll go and give them a wash, and we'll see how much ink comes out. So that's the next stage. So I'll stop recording now, and we'll go and wash the pads. Okay, so we're at the sink. So here's the pad again, with its massive lump of congealed gunk on it. So I'll give it a rinse, and we'll see how much water we need to get it clean. I'm getting quite a lot of ink coming off it. It's burning my hand at the moment, so I'll turn the hot off. I might as well get the other one while I'm at it. So that's the other one I've taken out there. Getting the ink out. It's had years and years and years of trying to pick up the ink. So that's got all over my hands. That's got most of the loose ink off. I think it will stain the pads Well, actually that colour, they've actually put black felt on the top so that you can't see that it's white felt underneath, and so that you can't see that the pads are there, so they're sort of hiding the pads in effect. Remember, when you actually turn that off, when you actually use the printer and replace the inks in it, the inks whiz back and cover this spot anyway, because normally the ink pads, the waste ink pads, are below the print heads when you replace them. It kind of hides them a little bit, so you might not be aware that it's even got a waste ink tank. So hopefully this video will help you identify the fact that you've got one, and that this is the reason why you've got messy prints. So I'll leave those to dry, and then we'll put them back in and we'll see how we get on. Okay, we're back at the printer now while the pads are drying. So what I'm going to use baby wipes to just get the ink off the surfaces of the printer. Baby wipes work just as well as anything else. So just gently just rub the plastic, and because it's plastic, you're not going to get a lot of, there's ink everywhere in this one, you're not going to get a lot of difficulty getting the ink off, which is why when you touch it you get covered in ink. It's generally a bit grubby anyway, so I'll carry on cleaning that, and then we'll get the pads back in and see what happens. Okay, so we're back. It's been a while, but the pads are now dry, so we'll just put them back in. So there's one pad goes in there. They've got a little bit of sticky on the back of them, and that sticky has survived the cleaning process, so they should stick back down. My hands are still covered in ink. What Hewlett Packard want you to do is buy a new printer, of course, but some printers, especially the portable ones, the kind of printer that the gas people bring around when they're speccing your central heating, for those of you in the UK, and they print you out a little wall plan. Those kind of printers, I think Sharp make them. They can be quite expensive, and they definitely have this counter, because I've reset a couple in the past. So let's get that pad back like that, and then we'll just screw this back on, and then that's that. So we'll get the printer connected up and we'll print the test page and see what comes out. Okay, so the printer prints. The test page that came out wasn't good because it needs some ink, ironically. But there's something else I want to mention for this particular printer. Remember, it's the Photosmart D5063. If I open it up, obviously now it's turned on, the inks fly back to their little changing section. Along the bottom here, I get the torch again, along here there's another felt strip which catches more of the blobby ink, and it's got a bit of a splodge about there, so I'm going to take that out and wash that as well. So for this particular model, you've got a strip along there, and you've got the two underneath where the ink is, where you change the ink cartridges. All printers will have this. Well, I say all printers, all inkjet printers will have a waste ink tank. Remember, it's not a tank, it's just some felt pads. They disguise them by putting black felt at the top, but they're there. They get dipped in and it just catches the drips, so you don't get too messy prints. Obviously, if you're getting really messy prints, then this will fix that. This particular printer is using refilled. I'm not going to show the brand, but it's using refilled cartridges, so they can be a little bit messy anyway. The trick with these is to remember that you're not changing the inks, you're changing the entire print assembly, because the printing head is actually built into the cartridge. So the printer itself is just a mechanism for moving that around and getting data to it from the computer. So the printer itself will last a long time, and it's partly the reason why the printers are so cheap, because they make their money on the consumables, on the inks. So the reason these inks last such a long time, the printers last such a long time, is because every time you change the ink, you also change the print head. So if you're using refillable ones, or ones that have been refilled, then over a period of time, they're going to deteriorate, they're going to leak more, they're going to make more mess, and the print quality will suffer. But obviously you'll save money. So it very much depends on what you're printing. As a general piece of advice, if you're printing photos, just don't do it. Don't print photos on your inkjet printer. I'll do a separate video for that at some point, but in the meantime, just don't do it. So if this helps you fix your printer, remember there's usually a special method for resetting the page count if your printer has actually stopped working. Some models will stop working. It's quite rare because it has to be quite old, comparatively speaking, for printers. Remember, printers are 40 quid, so more often than not you'll just go out and buy a new one anyway. But if you've had a very specialized printer like the portable rechargeable ones, and you've had that for a few years, you might find that suddenly it stops working. That's the reason why they're worried about spills. You can take the pad out or just reset the counter and it should carry on printing. So for this particular model, D5063, if you're getting messy prints, this is why. It's because either you're using refillable cartridges that are, well, refilled cartridges that are old, or it's because your waste ink tank is just a massive splodge of ink anyway. So if that helps, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any comments or questions, leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.